Welcome back. Well, the southern border, as we know, is overrun by migrants. It's not the only place in America seeing an influx of refugees. The welcome mat is officially now being laid out for migrants coming from Afghanistan. According to the Department of Homeland Security, today, a flight carrying 75 unaccompanied Afghan children landed in the glamorous city of Chicago. This number is in addition to the 860 Afghan refugees that the state of Illinois is already planning on welcoming in the coming weeks, with 550 of those being children. And to be clear, the vast majority of this group does not include the brave interpreters who went through the special immigrant visa process and were vetted after fighting alongside American troops against the Taliban. These are at-risk kids, many without parents or sponsors, waiting for them in the Windy City, meaning they will be wards of the government, which can't even take care of the kids already living in Chicago, a city that has already seen at least 261 kids shot alone this year. Not to mention a city where 80% of eighth graders don't read at grade level, taking in kids from a country with a 38% literacy rate. And trust me, that number is generous. So Chicago can't even take care of its own kids, and we expect Chicago to take care of parentless Afghan children. What in the world could go wrong? Joining me now is Victor Davis Hanson. He's the author of the upcoming book, The Dying Citizen, and I do very much look forward to reading it. Everything you say, Victor, is thoughtful. In this particular case, we welcome Afghans who fought alongside us. We also know that the vast majority that are coming or headed to our country weren't in that category per se. They were at risk. Now you've got kids going to Chicago. Do we have a system set up to absorb them properly?
No, I don't think so. I think children in Chicago who are U.S. citizens will fare worse than even refugees. We're kind of like the 19th century British Empire that had a fort or a base all over the world, but Charles Dickens was writing at home about the poverty and crime at the heart of it all in London. That's what's happened. We've hollowed out our cities, and yet we think we can spread all of our culture, fly pride flags and have George Floyd murals in the streets of Kabul, but we're hollowed out at home. I think it's kind of a war on citizenship, because the soldiers who are asked to accompany the refugees, even if they've had antibodies and a prior case of COVID, they're going to have to get vaccinated. But people coming in from Afghanistan, or the 2 million at the border, even if they haven't had COVID, they won't ask to be vaccinated. And you and I, Pete, we can't pick and choose which laws we follow. People come across the border. The first thing they do is break the law. The second thing they do is break the law by residing here. Probably the third will be some type of ID. We just can't say I'm not going to follow an IRS law. I don't like this federal gun registration law, so I'm going to avoid it. And Dan Bongino mentioned the fact that when I come into the United States, I'm paranoid about making sure I have my passport. I'm a citizen. Non-citizens don't worry about that, apparently. This is part of a larger project. I think the Democratic and left-wing agenda, movement project, whatever we call it, is unhappy with the present electorate. We have about 50 million people that were not born in the United States that are now residing here legally and illegally, and they think we've got to change the demography because we don't get 51% support for our agenda. And that's sort of the organic argument that flipped California, Nevada, Colorado, maybe Arizona, New Mexico, maybe someday Georgia. And then the elites say, well, we got to change the electorate, but we've also got to get rid of the 9-person Supreme Court, the Electoral College, the filibuster, get a national voting law, get 2 more states. But it's part of a larger effort that says under the existing system and rules and under the existing electorate and demography, we can't get what we want. So we're going to change both at the opposite ends. And that's what they're doing.
Victor, real quick, we only have about 45 seconds, but do they believe that these kids will succeed when they get here, or do they know the system will fail them, and as you pointed out, they're just not that concerned about it?
No, I think they think so. I wouldn't be surprised if the social workers focus on them in a greater fashion than they do the underclass of Chicago. We have this strange, I don't know what it is, it's some kind of weird cultural tick that if you're not a citizen and you're coming into the country, even without legality, or maybe not through the legal lengthy process, we're going to do all we can for you in a way that we've kind of abandoned our own. I don't know how else to explain it, because if you're a young African-American child growing up in Chicago, I think we're going to give your parents some money or subsidies, but we're really out of sight, out of mind. We don't really care about you. That's a terrible thing to say, but I think that's our attitude. But we prefer people from another country than we do our own citizens.
Such a good point.
That's kind of a commentary where we are as
it's the exact opposite of America First. It's precisely what it is. When you don't believe in yourself, you look somewhere else. Victor Davis Hanson.
Citizenship lasts.
Citizenship lasts, yeah. Look forward to the book as well. Thank you so much for the time.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.